Hi guys, and welcome back to a new writing vlog. This is a brand new writing vlog all about my second book, because I have finished work now on my first book, The Paper and Heart Society, and I am now working on the sequel. I have been working on it for the last few months and I've really wanted to talk about it on my channel, but I'll get into why I haven't been wanting to talk about it. And on one hand I have wanted to talk about it, on the other I haven't felt able to talk about it in the way that I wanted to. So a lot has been going on, so I'm going to catch you up on what it's like. I can't really talk to you about what the second book is about right now. I'm not really allowed. It has got a title, the cover is being worked on, the idea is in place, and I am 25,000 words in, but it's been a long and arduous process so far, and not exactly a positive one. Before I talk about book 2, I should probably show you something that I just received. It is a finished copy of The Paper and Heart Society. This is what people will receive if you buy it. It is so surreal to be holding the finished copy. It feels like a certain amount of closure to finally have this, knowing that we are less than a month away from publication now. The way that publishing works though is that you're always working ahead. So this time last year I was working on edits, or about to begin edits on the first book, so I was already working ahead to 2019. Now that I'm working on the second book, my head is way forward in 2020, and so it doesn't give you a lot of time to digest things, and in some ways that's a good thing. In other ways then it can be quite difficult because you're always working in the future. So I'll catch you up on where I am at in the writing process right now. I'm working on the second book. I am following the same characters that I followed in book 1, but I have a different main character this time, which has presented its own challenges. It's really weird being in somebody else's head, but in some ways it's easier because my main character in book 1, Tabby, is quite a complicated character in that I'm exploring lots of complex, quite difficult feelings. So she has anxiety, and I really had to tap into that side of my personality and revisit times when I felt anxious, and so it felt like a very difficult way to write because you're having to delve into those quite overwhelming emotions, and book 2 really isn't about that. Book 2 has serious stuff going on, but the book 2 protagonist is a lot easier, and I don't really have to go into a darker place as I'm writing it. There are dark feelings, dark emotions, there's definitely drama and things going on, but in terms of where I'm at when I'm writing it, my headspace is a lot clearer and I feel like I can focus more on what my character is doing. And also I know these characters a lot better now than when I started writing the first book. I have learned what they're about, I've learned who they are, I've learned what they stand for, and so that makes it easier too. But book 2 also introduces lots of new characters, and that was not something that I anticipated at first, but it is so right for this story. So I started writing book 2 back in, I want to say February. It was probably the end of February, kind of mid-February. So I had done my last edits on book 1, and then I had to jump straight into book 2 because I had quite a tight deadline. So I sent a summary across to my editor at my publisher, and we had already discussed a few ideas, but I put something in place and then I was sent off to go and write this book. I got, I think, about 20,000 words in and something was not working. I really wasn't happy with the story that I was writing. I just didn't feel like it was doing my characters justice. I felt like it was exactly the same book as book 1, except you're following a different character and there are slightly different events, but there was not anything big that had changed. I want to do these characters' stories justice, especially as you're following the same characters across the series. I think it's important that each book in the series feels like its own individual book. And I've also been really conscious of second book syndrome. There are two sides to second book syndrome. There is the writing second book syndrome, where it is just such a notoriously difficult book to write, and there's also the other side to it, which is more from the reader's perspective, where the second book is never going to be as good as the first book, and I've been very conscious of that. I'm very conscious now of the fact that I'm getting reviews in for the first book, and that makes writing difficult because people are criticising your writing. Even when they say good things, there's also a negative side to that. You don't want it to inflate your ego. You also want to take some criticism on board, but you have to learn to take the good criticism and leave the things where actually you're going away from who you are as a writer. So I was not happy at all with what I'd been writing. I didn't really know where I'd gone wrong. And then I had a brainwave, and as soon as I had this brainwave, I knew that there was no other direction that I could take this book, that I had to follow my heart on this new idea I'd had that wasn't wildly different, but was significant enough that I had to go back to my editor, and at the beginning of April, which was my deadline, I had to go, you know what, I'm not going to have a book to hand back to you, but I'm going to send you a sample of this new idea I've had. I've reworked my chapters and I'm going to send you these, and I'm going to send you a super detailed outline of everything that's going to happen in this new idea of mine. So I did that. I spent a whole weekend where I was up all night and I wrote a 7,000 to 8,000 word outline, a chapter by chapter breakdown of my new idea, and I sent it across to my editor, and she agreed, and we all agreed that this new direction was the direction to go. I'm really happy with this new direction now. I've got about 25,000 words and I probably should be working quicker, but I'll get on to why I'm not in a minute. But I'm happy that I am doing my character justice, and I am happy that I feel like this is a good individual book, and I feel like this is the book I really needed when I was around 17. The first book is a book I needed when I was 16. This is the book I would have needed when I was 17, and book 3 is going to be the book I would have needed when I was 18. I'm really writing for myself, and I think that's a really good place to write from. So even though I am so much happier with the book as it is now and the way that it is shaping up, there is still a part of me that is really struggling with writing in a way that I struggled with book 1, but not in this way. Not in the way of sitting down and staring at your laptop all day and just not being able to write, wanting to write but not being able to do it. I have a total mental block. This isn't writer's block. Writer's block for me is completely different. When I have writer's block, I know I've taken a wrong turn in my writing. This is a complete mental drain. I want to talk about this even though it's difficult, because I think that there is this idea as a writer or a creator or as an artist that when you have mental health problems, those mental health problems make you a better writer. I have had a really difficult year. There's been a lot of death and a lot of illness in my life, and that's been really difficult. A lot of things that have just totally messed up my brain this year. I don't want to go into specific details about that because it's a very personal thing and I am a private person, but I want to talk about how that mental strain has affected my writing, because it really has. And I don't want to make it seem like my mental health, and when my mental health is bad, that makes me a better writer, because those experiences you can draw on in your writing, but when it comes to sitting down in front of your screen or the page and committing words to paper, having your head so fuzzy and just filled with this overwhelming sense of dread and fear, that to me is the biggest barrier to my writing that I have, I think, ever faced. And it's worse than when I was at school and writing alongside that. It's worse than when I was doing exams or whatever. My mental health has really affected the way that I am creating, and it has been really tough to deal with. Somewhere along the way, in amongst all this confusion, I have lost a sense of who I am as a creator. It's why I haven't been making videos on YouTube. It's why I haven't been able to write as much, because every single time this year I have sat down to write and have got somewhere with my writing, something bad has happened, and that's so awful. I just can't seem to win with this book, and I am so looking forward to getting to the end, because once I get to the end, I'll know that I can do it. It has recently been Mental Health Awareness Week, and I think that we don't really talk enough about how mental health affects creativity because of these myths of mental health problems being great and making you really productive. For me, that is the complete opposite, and I feel like it makes my life slightly grey. I feel like when I'm not creating, I lose a part of myself, because I'm a very creative person and I want to be creative, but I haven't been able to do that because I've had so much going on in my head. It doesn't leave any space for anything else. I feel like as well your feelings change towards writing once you know you're going to be published. I am so lucky to have a book deal. I'm so lucky to have got an agent. I'm so lucky to be where I am. But at the same time, it does add pressure when you have deadlines, when you know that people are relying on you to hand this book in because they need to work just as much as you do, when your income relies on writing. It changes your relationship towards creating, and it changes your relationship towards your work, because I think it does add pressure to be better, which is a good kind of pressure, but I also think it adds the kind of pressure where it can become overwhelming if you let it. Something I've been trying to do is really ground myself and remind myself that I am lucky and incredibly privileged to be where I am. It's something that not every writer, you know, gets to do. Not every writer will be published in their lives. And I also try and remember those feelings of how I felt when I got my book deal, how I felt when I finished the first draft of the Paper and Heart Society, how I will feel again, how I will find that happiness and that contentment. It's not even wild excitement or happiness I want. I just want to be content. Writing isn't about sitting down and being able to write every single day. Writing is about being happy with what you are creating, and it's about being honest with yourself as well as other people, and sometimes going, you know what, I'm struggling. Because I feel like in talking about this and in being honest about my writing process at the moment, I am allowing other people to be honest too, not just to themselves but to the people around them. I'm really excited to finish book 2, to finish the first draft, and I'm going to be taking you along with that journey now. I feel like in sitting down to film this video, I'm showing that I'm serious about finishing this book, and I'm serious about sharing that with you, because I'd been so nervous to talk about the way I'd been feeling and to just admit that I was struggling with it. Because this is my job now. It's something that, you know, I do every single day. And when you can't do that, or when it's so difficult to do that, it makes you feel like some kind of failure. And it's not a failure, it's just part of the process. And I know so many other people who feel like this. Publishing is all about the extreme highs and the extreme lows, and right now I'm feeling very low about it, but next week, who knows, I might be feeling 100 times better. The week after that, I might feel low again. I'll be able to share some new details with you soon about book 2 around the publication of book 1, I think, and I can't wait to be able to talk to you about this book. But I'll also be sharing my writing of it. I'm going to be doing drafting vlogs, and I'm going to be doing write with me's and kind of showing you the days in my life now that I am writing this book. I want to take you along on the journey, but before I get started on that journey, I had to sit down and be honest with you about where I am at. I would love to know in the comments what writing projects you are working on at the moment. Are you writing a novel? Are you writing some non-fiction? Are you working on a blog or poetry or something else? Let me know in the comments, because I would love to hear. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys soon. Happy writing!